Welcome to The Topic, where we highlight Houston Community College, our students, our programs, and our reach into the community. I'm Todd Duplantis. Last year, 95 unmarked graves with the skeletal remains of African Americans were discovered on a construction site in Sugar Land. HCC professor Theresa Jach is part of a task force from the city of Sugar Land, and you've joined us here in The Topic. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
This is a very controversial, historic and tragic thing that's happened, and it's also set back construction delays. It's just a big problem, I guess. And where do you start with something like this?
They found the graves when they were constructing a technical center for Fort Bend ISD.
Right.
So they had built, it's a kind of a U-shaped building, and they built the first two parts of it, and when they started building the other part is when they found the graves. So then they had to stop construction.
Right.
And bring in an archaeology firm to excavate the remains and figure out where they came from. So that delayed the school being built right at that point.
Now, what have they learned about the remains? Time frame, ages?
Okay, so we know that it's from convict lease camp, Ellis Camp 1, and Ellis was one of the founders of Imperial Sugar.
Right.
And Imperial Sugar used convict leasing, and so that was one of the camps. And it was from the 1880s and 1890s during the lease period. Many of these men were worked to death.
Right.
The average age for a convict on a sugar farm was 7 years.
Wow.
We have one of the skeletal remains has a bullet hole in his head, missing limbs,
Right.
clear fractures that had not healed, so they were probably beaten shortly before they died, whether that was the cause or not. So it's grueling work, and they buried them in a cemetery, but since then the wooden markers had all disappeared. And
Sure.
so,
Quite some time ago, because we're looking at the 1880s.
yes, yes.
Happened.
So, and we don't know how long the camp was. Ellis sold the property to the state, and after that it was not used. There was a couple of prison buildings on it, but it was not used regularly as a sugarcane
Right.
later, and so we don't know how long it sat there, that cemetery untended, that everything would have disappeared.
Where do you start with something like this? You go in there to be respectful and to honor these individuals. Where do you start? Where do you go? And what's the status?
So right now, the original thought was there's another cemetery owned by the prison that is in the same field, but you know, half a mile away, but you can see it. And the original intent was to move them there to the
Right.
other cemetery. And then since the task force, we all voted unanimously, except for the Fort Bend ISD representatives, to leave them where they were at. And then the city of Sugar Land, their city council, rejected that idea.
Wow.
And so then it escalated up from there. So the community, the people that they brought in, the stakeholders as they called it, people that had an interest. I live in Fort Bend County. I'm a historian. This is what I write about as well.
Right, sure.
So they had us come in, and we did lots of soul searching and trying to figure out what the best alternatives would be, what would look like if you moved them. And then we decided that the most respectful thing and the best thing for me as a historian is to put them back where they were, to stop building the school.
And so the school construction will go away. What happens to that site?
Okay, well, so Fort Bend ISD fought us on it,
Yeah.
as you can imagine, because it's expensive. It's,
Yeah.
I think they said it was costing maybe $170,000 a month that they weren't building. So as a taxpayer in Fort Bend County, that was something that I would like the school to have been completed in a different direction, maybe, not over the graves. There's also laws in Texas that say a school district is not allowed to operate a perpetual care cemetery. There are only certain entities, counties, a city.
Everything is going against it here.
Everything is going against it. They just want to move them and forget it and keep building the school, but they're not doing that now. Everything has changed.
Theresa Jach, amazing story, and I know it's not over. It's got a long ways to go with
does.
this. Thank you for joining us here in The Topic and being here. If you'd like to know more about HCC's history department, and definitely follow on this story, hccs.edu/history is the website for The Topic on HCC TV. I'm Todd Duplantis. I'll see you next time.